What's up, everybody, and welcome along to tonight's late night agenda. As you can see, I'm joined by Jack Gill, and we're going to have a chat around all things Liverpool related. But this is a viewer-led show, so you let us know the topics that you want to talk about, and me and Jack will have a little chat about them. But, buddy, to kick off, I suppose the big transfer story of the day is the MINAMINO SHAQIRI links to Spain.
Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? I don't want to just give up on Takumi Minamino because I feel like we've not seen enough of him yet. I heavily criticised the club for his loan. I think us loaning him out was poor timing. The time we had a thin squad, we had a lot of injuries, and the loan just didn't seem to make sense to me. I thought Takumi Minamino could be a big part of our squad for this second half of the season. However, Southampton are a decent club. They've gone far in the FA Cup, as we've seen. They play nice football in Ralph Hasenhüttl. And we saw Minamino get off to a good start, haven't we? And I believe he's already scored exactly the same amount of goals that he scored for Liverpool, for Southampton. So, when we loaned him out, the notion was that he was going to return to Liverpool and fight for his place in the summer. And I believe that's exactly what he'll do. There was no option or obligation to buy for Southampton. And I don't think Minamino will be one of the players that we look to offload. Shaqiri, on the other hand, I think his time at Liverpool is probably up. And he's one of the players that I would look to be moving on in the summer.
Oh, mate, you've no idea how much I appreciate you saying that, because I've gotten some flack over the last few months. I've always thought that Shaqiri was worth the risk at the relegation clause that was in his Stoke contract. It didn't work out for varying reasons. He seems to pick up, maybe with those giant legs of his, he seems to pick up a lot of injuries, muscle injuries, knocks and stuff. And Minamino, it's a strange one. It really is, because the move seems like a clever move to Southampton, similar style, similar to what he had at Salzburg with Jesse Marsch as well. And you think, all right, go prove yourself, lad, and then hopefully come back. But I really would feel like we didn't give him a fair crack of the whip if he was sent off in the summer and he was sent packing.
Agreed. Shaqiri, just on him first, he's had his opportunities. He's given us some good moments. But like you say, he's not been consistent enough. He's often out injured, and it's been quite frustrating. And I think now is the right time to sell. In terms of him, I think it would be a good time to sell him in the summer. I think we'll make the most money possible on Shaqiri that we can. Takumi Minamino, as you say, we haven't seen enough of him since he came to us. And Jurgen Klopp was very honest when he went out on loan to Southampton to say that it was a physical element to it too, and him not adapting to the Premier League in terms of physicality, and maybe he was slightly too small, something along the lines of that. But he didn't rule out his future at the club, and I still think Minamino could have a future at Liverpool. We've seen from Southampton he's got the ability. I don't think he is groundbreaking, but he's certainly a player that we can use on a rotation basis. And don't forget that's why we bought him in. So yeah, I would like to see more of Takumi.
This comment I brought up on the screen now from Fahim that says Naby links to Real. I told you, crowd, as soon as we were drawn against Real Madrid, the shithousery is going to start from the Spanish media. You're going to see Salah linked. You're going to see Mane linked. I think I've even got as far as Jack as to read that Real Madrid are happy that they haven't drawn one of the big coconuts, for want of a better phrase, with regards to Liverpool in the Champions League. If there's one thing we know for certain, mate, it's that every time we come up against a Spanish club in European competition, the mouthpieces of the media from the Spanish side start trying to destabilise everything around the football club.
Yeah, our top players are going to be linked everywhere, aren't they? Sadio Mane is one that they've tried to link to Real Madrid in the past, and I'm sure that'll come up again in future weeks. But it's, as you say, it's just shithousery. It's just a typical Spanish football way of doing things, and we're not in the best run. I was a bit disappointed in the timing of the Genie news today, Craig, if I'm honest with you.
I actually broke that last night, believe it or not. I said that on last night's stream, and when you hear Juan Laporte, the new Barcelona president, say he's on our shopping list or he's on our wish list for the summer, he's not going to come out with a statement like that straight into the job unless he's very confident. And like you, mate, I'm devastated.
Yeah, it's the timing, and to be honest, it was the worst kept secret anyway, and it was all but confirmed anyway. And I suppose even now that there's no confirmation, but for us, it looks even more likely now. And I do think the timing when it's during an international break, just before we have two hugely important games in the Premier League against Arsenal, Villa, and of course two legs against Real Madrid in an even bigger Champions League tie. So. I am disappointed with the timing, but I do think it was expected in terms of the Gini Wijnaldum stuff. It makes it worse that it is a Spanish club that he's moving to, because I'm sure the Spanish media will rinse that over the next couple of weeks as well. But yeah, it's
Also,
disappointing.
though, it's important to point out, Jack, that they can wince all they want, but the only reason they're doing it is because he's free. Now, I'm not saying Gini's not a good enough player, but I'm saying if Gini's the only reason Barcelona are able to get Gini Wijnaldum is because he's free. Because Barcelona and Real Madrid and a lot of Spanish clubs are up shit creek when it comes to the finances. Hence this whole new let's have a talk about only being able to spend €100 million if you're buying from other Champions League clubs. That old chestnut that came out during the week that made me smile as well.
Yeah, I think also, mate. With Gini Wijnaldum, I think very, very highly of Gini Wijnaldum. I think he is a severely underrated footballer. I think he is a massive part of our system under Jurgen Klopp, and I was disappointed in the summer to see people turn on him when we were linked with Thiago. People seemed to assume it was one or the other, and that if Thiago was coming in, sorry, it was because Gini is going. But then we ended up in both. And look, Gini hasn't had the greatest of seasons. Yes, he's underperformed, but a lot of the players haven't. And you only need to, if you don't understand how important Gini is to our squad, just look at his minutes under Jurgen Klopp that he's played. He is hugely important for us, and it's going to be a big, big loss. But, I've heard things. I've heard rumours. Basuma we're being linked with, Renato Sanchez too. But for me, I'd like to see us looking at Jude Bellingham. I think he'd be a really good Gini Wijnaldum replacement.
Yeah, there's been a few. I mean, here's one from Jack O'Connell that said, would you sign Grealish or Maddison? My problem with that is always, one, you're buying from English clubs. Two, you're buying English players, and they would cost the sun, the moon, and the stars. And there is better value to be had in the European market. Like, we can speak through a whole list of central midfielders or attacking midfielders that could be brought in. I like Houssem Aouar. I know he's not a box-to-box like Gini, but he's got that talent on the front foot that can unlock defences. You've already spoken about Yves Bissouma, who, of course, Liverpool have been tracking from Brighton for a while now. There's Rodrigo de Paul. We've seen those links. And we're going to see a lot more, Jack. And you never know. It could be somebody who we have not mentioned yet at all. Like Fabinho came out of nowhere, and Robbo came out of nowhere at the time. And we've seen, again, with Jota, that came out of nowhere. So often we see all these links in the media for months, and then, boom, something we've never thought of happens.
There's obviously Houssem Aouar from Lyon as well. I think he'd be an excellent signing too. Jude Bellingham, though, is one that I'm keeping tabs on. I think he would be an excellent signing. Just to go on that comment, I think both Maddison and Grealish are very, very good players. Grealish is a player I'd like to see us bring in. I think he's a phenomenal player. Over the years, I've given Grealish some criticism. I thought that he was a big fish in a small pond, and he suited that. But this season, he's proved me wrong. And I think if he goes elsewhere, if he goes to a top club, he'll get even better. And I do think right now he is one of the best players in the Premier League, that's for sure.
I can't deny his ability and how good he is, but what always catches me about Grealish is the stop-start nature of him getting fouled so much. And that's not his fault, of course. He's got really quick feet and he's very good at making a yard. But in a team like ours that can counter-attack at such pace, I just wonder, is he the right player to link up between the midfield and the attack, or to really free up our attackers? And it might be just because he gets fouled so much at Villa, and maybe we could find more space for him, or we'd have more distractions, so all the focus wouldn't be on him. But it's the only one thing that's held me back from really jumping on board wanting Jack Grealish.
Yeah, there's a reason he's fouled so much, though, Craig, and that's because he's a very, very dangerous player. And it helps Aston Villa because they've got some big men and set pieces, so him winning a lot of free kicks helps them. The likes of Mings, Konsa, Watkins is pretty decent in the air as well. And Grealish is good at delivering them set pieces. So I think it's one of them. I do think that it would be a good signing for any top six club in the Premier League. There's been strong links to Man City in recent days too. But I do think if I was to be asked Grealish or Maddison, I would slightly prefer Grealish, even though I think both are top talents.
Now, Champions League draw. What do you think? And I mean, I've got to say, mate, I think we've got the better side of that draw. Obviously, anybody who gets to the quarterfinal deserves immense respect for being there, but I'm not unhappy that we've drawn Real Madrid.
Yeah, it smells like 2005, baby. I've said that before. Chelsea in a semi-final before going to Istanbul. Things to look forward to and good signs for us Liverpool fans. However, we've got to get past Real Madrid first. And they're not the same side that they've been in recent years, but we're not the same side that we have been in the last couple of years. We're an injury hit side. We've looked slightly weaker this year than we have the last couple of seasons. And it's still going to be a difficult task, Craig. And once we get past Real Madrid, though we've been handed
Stop right there. Once we get past Real Madrid. I like that language, Jack.
There we go. And once we do, there is another difficult task in our way. Porto or Chelsea aren't going to be a breeze either. So I think it's important to take each game that it comes. We know the Champions League is a competition that suits us. We want to be in Istanbul in the summer. It's a place where we have fond memories of, and we want to recreate history, and relive that moment in Istanbul once again.
In a far better, revitalised, redone stadium, by the way, I have to say. It looks a lot different now than it did in 2005.
Of course, and we've been handed, a bit of a boost with the draw. We've avoided the likes of Bayern, PSG, Manchester City before the final. So, I'm happy with the draw, Craig. I really am. But that's by no means saying that I'm confident we'll get to the final. We've got 4 big games before we get to the final, and we've got to get past Real Madrid before we even think of Porto and Chelsea. But, the draw did remind me an awful lot of 2005, and everything is pointing in the right direction for us Liverpool fans at the moment.
Did you see the bit of shithousery from Ryanair?
No, I didn't.
Somebody asked them about flights to Istanbul, and they said, we don't have any direct flights to Istanbul, or we don't operate any direct flights to Istanbul, but you're a Liverpool fan, so you probably won't be needing them anyway.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. There you go.
I love the picture doing the rounds of somebody cropping Nat Phillips and Ozan Kabak onto the picture of Gerrard and Kara in Istanbul with the trophy. I don't know if you've seen that doing the rounds this week.
Yeah. Well, something actually I've seen in the chat here from somebody, and I'm specifically aiming this at you because I know that you spoke to Darren McAnthony about Ivan Toney, and I have the question. I have to say I've not watched much of him, but you don't score the amount of goals the lad has had, and I know when you spoke to Darren McAnthony, the Peterborough owner, he was singing his praises.
Yeah, he's a player that's impressed me. I keep no secret that one of my housemates at university is a big Doncaster fan in League One. And therefore was very aware of Ivan Toney at his time with Peterborough. So I knew about it before he went to Brentford, and he's gone to Brentford. I wondered how he'd handle the step up. He's dealt with it superbly. And Brentford rarely get transfers wrong. Their recruitment is outstanding. And after such a good season last year, where they obviously had Watkins and Benrahma, they lost them in the summer to Premier League moves. But they replaced them really well, and Ivan Toney was an excellent addition for him. He's 6'4", but he's got a bit of absolutely everything. He's a real menace. Darren McAnthony spoke highly of him, as you expect he would, as a former owner of his, of course. But yeah, as a football fan, I rate Ivan Toney highly. And Brentford are a side that I'd like to see in the Premier League next season. I really rate Brentford, as I said before. Their recruitment is outstanding. I like their style of play. They're a side that I don't think are too far away from the Premier League, but Ivan Toney is certainly a man that I'd like to see in the Premier League soon. If not at Liverpool, I do think he'll get a move elsewhere.
Top 4. We'll have a little chat about top 4 now. We've seen earlier on today a remarkable comeback from Arsenal against West Ham, which sort of drags us back up into the race a little bit. I know we're still 5 off Chelsea, 3 now off West Ham. A lot of teams in and around each other playing. Do you think we've any realistic hope, Jack, or are we just deluding ourselves here because we've won a couple of games?
No, I've spoken before about the top four. You know, it's possible, but I do believe it's unlikely. And that's because, yes, you know, it's still possible because we're not too far away and the teams above us, a lot of them have to play each other. But the reason I think it's unlikely is we're going to have to go from now till the end of the season dropping very little points. You know, Leicester look good still despite, excuse me, having quite a few injuries. Chelsea resurgent under Thomas Tuchel. They don't, excuse me again, they don't concede too many goals, and obviously Manchester United and Man City don't look like slipping up too much. City have run away with the title, and I don't expect Manchester United to drop out of that top four. So it is going to be a difficult task, but I do believe it's possible. We just have to recover quickly and get some kind of form together. I think it will require, you know, not losing a game between now and the end of the season and not dropping too many points, to be honest with you, Craig. But yeah, it's definitely still possible, and I'm hoping that we can achieve it still, because as I've spoke before on this channel, I believe this summer is massive for this football club. I believe our transfer business this summer is crucial to get us back up there. You know, there's lots of talk about City and the players they're going to bring in. They're going to strengthen even more. United will strengthen. Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel, they're going to give him a lot of money again. And you know, the top four race this season, as we've seen, is tough as it is, and everyone around us is going to strengthen. So it's an important summer for us, and top four will really help us with the sort of players and the sort of caliber of players that we want to bring in this summer. And therefore, you know, I do believe we need to be playing Champions League football next season, whether that be achieving it via getting top four or whether that be putting all our eggs into the Champions League.
What petrifies me, mate, is the thought of making a Champions League final, knowing we finished outside the top four, and going into that Champions League final knowing that if you lose it, not only do we have to suffer the devastation of that loss, but we have to suffer the devastation of knowing we've also then lost our place in the Champions League the following year. I mean, you can only intensify what we felt when we took on Sevilla and we lost that one, where, you know, we had almost had transfers waiting on the line at the time for if we got Champions League football. So yeah, that would be a very, very nervy final. Look, I'm not complaining if we get to a final, don't get me wrong, but God, that will be a nervy 90 minutes.
Yeah, it'll be incredibly risky, especially because, you know, as well, you're likely to face either Bayern, PSG, or Manchester City in the final, and that's no disrespect for Dortmund. I just don't. I think City will breeze past them, to be honest. But with Haaland, who knows what will happen? But with that being said, you know, that's why I believe that we shouldn't be putting all our eggs into the Champions League basket, though. That may now be more of a priority for us with our current form in the league. I don't think we should rule the league out, and I think we should be pushing in the league to achieve a highest position as possible. And you know, I do think, as I say, top four is still there for the taking. We've got two really big games coming up against Arsenal and Aston Villa. I did like earlier on in the week when we see stuff about Real Madrid playing Barcelona in between the two games and us only having Aston Villa. Villa have obviously caused problems. They gave us our heaviest defeat of the season earlier on in the season. They gave us two difficult games last season. They're a side that we haven't found it easy against in the last couple of years. And you know, I think it's one that we shouldn't be underestimating at all. We've got, you know, four big games coming up, two in the Champions League and two in the league, and every game between now and the end of the season is huge for this football club, because we really should be playing in the Champions League next season. And yes, we've had a lot of issues this season on and off the field, but this club, this squad, this management team, everyone involved with Liverpool Football Club deserves to be in the Champions League this season. Next season. So, you know, every game between now and the end of the season is absolutely huge.
Well, I don't know if you've seen this, and people in the chat, we spoke about it last night. Have you seen the potential offer the PSG are going to put down on the table for Kylian Mbappe, or the rumored offer of like 35 million euro a year? Breaks down to like 550 grand a week, something like that, basically, to try and convince him to stay at the club.
Yeah, they've got the money, don't they? It just depends what Kylian Mbappe wants. You know, a top player like him should be playing in the French league, and I think that's PSG's problem. You know, you'll get top players who want to go there for the money, stay there for a couple of years, but you're likely to win the league. They're getting closer to winning the Champions League, but they've not quite achieved that yet. And then they'll want to move on to do it in a better league, in one of the bigger leagues. And that's why, all these top players are being linked to the Premier League now, because it truly is the best league in the world. And every player, every manager that is elite wants to be involved in the Premier League. And I'm sure Kylian Mbappe will, be tempted by that kind of money from PSG. But for me, if he's the player I think he is, he needs to start thinking about moving away from Paris, and I'm sure he'll have his eyes set on either a move to the Liga or a move to the Premier League. And fingers crossed, he's got one eye on Liverpool Football Club. But I keep saying, Craig, I love talking about Mbappe. I love the thought of Mbappe in a Liverpool shirt, but it feels wrong talking about that with the current position Liverpool are in.
Yeah, no, it does. I get you. We're all allowed to dream. It's very, very, very unlikely we'll see Kylian Mbappe. But what I've always said is, if any club is going to move from, this is the summer to do it, because he's going to wait and see what offers come in. They're not going to allow themselves to lose Kylian Mbappe on a free. That would just be ridiculous from every level. So I am intrigued to see what does happen. Can Real stump up the money? We've also got to talk about Haaland. I mean, if I was a betting man, I would say Manchester City are going to put all their eggs in the Haaland basket. Maybe, I know that Guardiola and his agent haven't gotten on in the past, but I'm sure that I think that was around the whole Ibrahimovic situation at Barcelona, but I'm sure that they could park that aside if there was enough money on the table, and that would frighten the shit out of me, mate. I won't lie to you. The thought of Manchester City going out and getting Haaland it would leave everybody else with a lot of work to do.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. His agent is Mino Raiola, and there's not too many people that do get on with him, to be honest with you. Haaland, for all his brilliance, and I do believe he is the best young talent in Europe right now. It's certainly between him and Kylian Mbappe. He's also hard work, and for me, it's whether his ego will be suitable for Pep Guardiola. I've also seen the transition of that City squad and system this year. They almost play with a bit of a false nine now, and I wonder if that system will suit Haaland or bring the best out of Haaland, or if they'll be looking at more a João Felix or something like that to bring in. But listen, every top club in Europe will have one eye on Erling Haaland and their situation. Dortmund obviously couldn't win against Cologne yesterday either, and they may miss out on the Champions League this year. So he may have a cut price move in the summer. And like you say, it seems to be the summer where a lot of these top players are looking for moves. And that's why our position is even more frustrating, because we're a side that is underachieving at the moment in the league. And if we were only where we should be at the moment and getting closer to the Champions League and had Champions League football next season looked really likely for us, we would obviously be a side that is heavily linked with both Mbappe and Haaland, I'm sure, and other top talents. But yeah, that's why I'm so keen on. Well, there's many reasons. Obviously, you want to be playing in the Champions League. Every top team wants to be playing in the Champions League. But I believe it's bigger than that. I think it's a big summer for this football club. I think a lot of our top players are getting to that age now where we look to get younger replacements for them and bed them in, and everyone who is a fan of Liverpool will be wanting the likes of Erling Haaland.
I'm intrigued to see where this new partnership with Jerry Cardinal and LeBron James is going to take us, because we know that from the outside looking in, and I've read as much as I can on this, Jerry Cardinal is a very clever dude. Started out with, I think, either Goldman Sachs or Wells Fargo, built his way up, got himself some management consultancy company and image consultancy as well. LeBron James has aspirations of owning his own NBA team when he finishes up playing, and that suits the structure of FSG, who are looking to add an NHL team, an NFL team, and an NBA team maybe to the group of clubs. And then there's also the fact that Jerry Cardinal owns an 85% stake in Toulouse, and Liverpool could become, let's say, a Leipzig or a Red Bulls type model or a Manchester City type model. And I know a lot of our fans, and I'm sure a lot of Red Sox fans, are probably expecting a lot of money thrown at the club directly for player acquisitions or player purchases this summer. But I'm more intrigued to see the long-term prospects of this and what this strategic partnership that has often been spoken about actually leads to.
Yeah, well, we spoke about links with Toulouse before, haven't we? And the new deal with Toulouse and stuff like that. And I think it's the future of top clubs. And with Brexit and stuff, you have to be sensible and find new ways of going about things. And FSG are certainly incredible businessmen, and like you say, I am very excited to see the future of the football club under them now with this new deal in place. I saw yesterday in typical fashion after the news this week about LeBron's stake going up in the club and now having a stake in FSG. Typically, he gets an injury yesterday, which sums up everyone that surrounds Liverpool this season seems to end up having a bit of bad luck going their way. But I am excited to see what comes of it. Not too excited because I know Red Sox fans have said in the past that when FSG get a new team on board, then they can sometimes forget about the ones they've had for a while. But I am fans of FSG, and I don't believe they're faultless. I believe they've got things wrong in the past. I've spoke a lot about them getting it wrong in the summer, and with the furlough decision, and then the U-turn on that, they changed their mind, which was a good thing. But then, of course, the January deals, I think they left it far too late to back Jurgen Klopp. And after we won the Champions League, only signing Sepp van den Berg, I think that was a mistake too. But I do think they're very, very good businessmen and good owners for this football club. And a lot of people are quick to criticise Man City and the oil money, and the same with Abramovich and Chelsea. But then that's what they hope for with Liverpool. But FSG run us sensibly, and I think this deal that they've done now is a sensible way to take this football club forwards.
I want to fire a few quick fire questions at you now for one-word answers. So I'm going to ask you a couple of things on transfers, a couple of things on ins and outs, and I just want you to fire a yes or no or a one-word answer. So Rafinha or Neto?
Rafinha.
Shaqiri, keep or sell?
Sell.
Origi, same question.
Get fucking rid.
Matip.
Keep.
Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Undecided.
Nat Phillips.
Ballon d'Or.
There you go. I'm not going to ask you about Ozan Kabak because I think that's very unfair on him, on us to be asked to judge a player that much going forward. But what I was happy to see being reported, Jack, was that Jurgen Klopp's priority this summer is to add an attacking player to what's already at the club. And that's the part of it that rang true to me. No talk of Firmino, Mane, Son, no talk of them boys moving on. Talk of adding to Jota and the boys that are already there. That's what I'd like. That's the reason I think Origi and Shaqiri need to move on. Free up wages, free up squad places, maybe for overseas players as well. And that's what makes me a little bit optimistic going into this, because I'm a sucker for an attacking player, a pacey wide forward particularly. And I've always been very vocal about saying I'd like Mohamed Salah to be pushed through the centre.
Yeah, absolutely. We need options. There's a lot of football now. We've seen that, and there's not much break for the players, and rotation is hugely important. And I think our front line have looked incredibly tired for lots of this season. And it would be good to have rotation in our ranks, that better options. And I think that's why this summer is important to move on certain players and to bring in better options.
But where are your handbags, Jack?
Hidden far away.
Yeah, I was trying to zoom in the other day just to see if it was that inexpensive there, or if we were talking cheap knockoffs. But my eye isn't that good, mate, to see. But there you go. There's been a bit of a talk as well about Bastoni. I don't know if you've seen this from Inter. And also the one that really gets me actually is the story coming out again from that Argentinian crowd. Varsky Sports, I think they're called. Again, speaking about Ezekiel Garay and Liverpool being very, very close to signing him. We could have had him all year, mate. He's been on a free. He's got no club. He's 34 years of age. Why would we suddenly want to sign him right now?
I think it's just, we're the club in Europe that everyone knows are struggling for defensive options and have done all season. You only have to look at us. We've got our first three centre-back choices are out with season-ending injuries. So I think his agents, his team have looked at that and gone, Hi everyone, he's still here. Somebody take him, please. Liverpool are interested. You know, this big club in Europe. Anyone else want him? But no, he's shite. He's not good enough for Liverpool. And you know, Ozan Kabak and Phillips, best centre back pairing in world football right now. You know, certainly better than Varane and Ramos. The only one that's coming close at the moment is probably, I don't know, maybe Diaz and John Stones. So yeah.
Somebody put a question into me earlier on, and it actually made me think, and I'd love to get a second opinion on this. So we all agree Fabinho belongs back in midfield. Great to see him there. We can see the protection he affords the back four. But let's say Hendo's back for the semi-final or the quarterfinals, excuse me, against Real Madrid. Do you put Henderson at centre back and go with, let's say, Gini and Thiago and Fabinho in midfield, or do you throw the captain straight back into midfield?
You throw him back into midfield with how that partnership's doing at the moment. You know, I think the only way you question it and you think, does Henderson or Fabinho go back towards the defence, is if one of the two, Kabak and Phillips, make a mistake and therefore, you know, deserve to be dropped. But for now, I certainly think that partnership should continue. And, you know, having Henderson and Fabinho back in that midfield would be absolutely huge for both them ties. And, you know, I really hope Hendo is back and that Phillips and Kabak can keep up this form, because I think that's the key for the rest of the season, Craig. If we can finally find this season a centre-back pairing that works, that is consistent, that is injury-free, that, you know, is strong, that makes no mistakes, and, you know, keeps picking up clean sheets, I think that is crucial for our success between now and the end of the season. You know, for all our faults in front of goal in recent weeks and months, we've also made mistakes at the back that haven't helped us, and that's what have made things worse. You know, we haven't looked like scoring, and then there's a mistake in us. But the last few games with that centre back pairing, we've looked a bit stronger. And you know, if they can keep it up, I think there's no reason why Henderson shouldn't be thrown in the midfield with Fabinho when he comes back from injury.
What have we got? Mustafa said, I've got a bad feeling Henderson goes in midfield and Fabinho in centre-back. For me, if one of the two had to go back to centre-back, I'd rather it be Henderson. I'd rather have Fabinho playing ahead, because I think he releases Thiago, more importantly, to do what Thiago is capable of doing. We've got the legs in Gini Wijnaldum or Curtis Jones or Naby Keita or whoever Klopp decides to go in there. So, I don't know, mate. I have a sneaky suspicion away against Real Madrid, we might see Jordan Henderson at the heart of that defence. I don't know why. I wonder if Kloppo will roll the dice on Kabak, say, as an example. I think Phillips has probably shown more stability and definitely aerial dominance. And look, Kabak's had a mixed bag, some good, some bad, but that's a big game, mate. That's a big game.
Yeah, it's huge. I don't think Henderson will be fit for that first leg personally. But, you know, I do think it's an interesting subject of conversation, and I've thought this myself over the last few days. But, you know, I would personally put him in midfield. I think a lot of Liverpool fans would. I think Henderson is crucial to the midfield, and at the minute, there's no reason to drop either Kabak or Phillips. So, yeah, for me, it would be the midfield for Jordan Henderson. Excuse me.
What positions do you think, pick three, that we will address this summer? So we can agree on a forward, yeah, because Klopp, that's come out of the manager's mouth pretty much. So forward aside, what positions do you think Liverpool are going to strengthen this summer?
I think a Gini replacement, and I think a centre-back.
See, the centre-back one is the really interesting one. The Gini replacement, I think everybody will agree with you in. We need to get somebody in there. We do, of course, have Harvey Elliott. That is another conversation we can have about whether there's a loan there for him another year. But let's look at the centre-back situation. I asked you about Matip because I would sell him. So I was interested to hear you say that you'd keep, because for me, I would rather have Nat Phillips there as a fourth choice centre-back or Ozan Kabak as a fourth choice centre-back, and know that we'll at least have a body available to us who will be fit and ready to go shall we need it, because nobody, myself included, will deny Joe Matip's ability. Joe Matip is an excellent centre-back, can carry the ball out, can pick a pass, can win a header, can do so many things. But very rarely, I think from last season aside, he had a good run of games. But apart from that, his whole time at Liverpool has been plagued with constant injuries.
The reason I say a centre-back is because, you know, we've got three players come back from long-term injuries. And, you know, we all live in a world where when he comes back, we think, with Virgil van Dijk, we'll bed him in and then he'll be fully fit and we'll be able to play him as much as we did before. But after an ACL injury, we're going to have to be a lot more careful with Van Dijk next season. There's going to have to be more rotation than we usually see with Virgil van Dijk, and the same with Joe Gomez, and the same with Joel Matip, because they've all had these long-term injuries. And I think whoever we bring in as a fourth choice needs to be an incredibly strong centre-half as well. And I do think, we were short this season in terms of centre-back. And next season, we need to overindulge in options at centre-back, because there's going to need to be a lot of rotation with them 3 players coming back from long-term injuries. And, the last thing I want to even think about is one of Gomez or Van Dijk getting a reoccurring injury next season. But when somebody's had an ACL injury, it is extremely possible. And therefore, I do think we need a very strong fourth choice as well. The Matip one is incredibly interesting. I wouldn't necessarily say sell. I would keep, but I would certainly listen to offers. But with that's because I would rather, keep, I think Gomez and Van Dijk for me are the 2 first choice ones. And if it is bringing in a more reliable, less injury prone centre half, or keeping Joel Matip, I would definitely listen to offers on Matip, because of course we only bought him in on a free. And if we can make profit on him at this period of his career, maybe it is that this is the most we'll ever be able to make for Joel Matip, who is and does seem like he's made out of breadsticks. So it's going to be interesting. As I say, I wouldn't necessarily actively sell Matip. I think we need to keep our options very, very strong for next season, definitely in the centre back department. But I would listen to offers.
As always, late last night, I was reading through the newspaper headlines, the gossip columns ahead of today's Sunday papers, and something stood out for me, and it freaked the shit out of me, if I'm being honest with you. The prospect of Van Dijk wanting to play in the European Championships for Holland. Now, we've already seen a Dutch surgeon warn during the week that Van Dijk could risk seriously hurting himself if he's brought back too quickly. And whilst we all understand that these guys are proud to play for their countries, they want to represent their countries, surely common sense has to prevail here, and he has to be just eased back into next season and have a full pre-season with Liverpool. Yeah,
look, Virgil van Dijk is the captain of his country. Of course, he's going to want to play in that European Championships. That will be his aim. He would have thought when he got the injury and he was told he was out for the season, he would have thought in his head, well, maybe I can be back for the Euros. And listen, as Liverpool fans, we don't want to see him rush back. We don't want to see him pick up an injury. And my heart will be in my mouth if he goes to the Euros with the Netherlands, and every time he gets on the pitch, I would be absolutely terrified. But, I'm not surprised Virgil van Dijk wanted to play in the Euros. But listen, we're a club that will listen to medical advice, and we won't let Virgil van Dijk go if there is a question of his fitness. And I'm sure there'll be constant communication between us and the Netherlands if he does go, in terms of his game time and how to manage him anyway. But yeah, I am worried because I do think how we manage Virgil van Dijk, and I say it constantly, whenever we do a stream, it's always, when's Virgil van Dijk going to be fit? When's he going to be fit? Now, even if he is fit between now and the end of the season, I would like to see us be really, really careful with his game time, because for me, it's crucial that we have him for the majority of next season at his best, and in top form, in full fitness, fresh, ready and raring to go, and therefore, I'd like to see him slowly integrated back into fitness. And it'd be nice to see him play for the under-23s when he's coming back.
Two things before I let you go and we finish up tonight, folks. Firstly, and I'm sure everybody in the chat will agree with me, because I've been reading a load of comments, loads of lovely stuff about Jack in the chat, which is always great to see. Jack has been a fantastic addition to the Anfield Agenda Mundo Sporto family, because that's what we are, Jack. I mean, you know how close we all are behind the scenes, mate. We look out for each other. Myself and Jack are late night owls as well, so we're often chatting at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning at times. But who thinks that we need Connor to get his ass working on a Jack in a baseball cap emoji for the members? I think that needs to be done. We've got my bald head. We've got Blame Connor. Who agrees with me? Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you think we need to get a Jack with a baseball cap on. And we'll leave the handbag out of it, mate. You know, we'll be fair about it. Some people don't get what that handbag comment was about, by the way. It was Jack was doing a video the other night, and it was obviously one of his housemates or his girlfriend or something. There was a load of handbags hanging on the back of a door, and it was the first thing I spotted and my wife spotted when we watched the video. But so there is that. Look, there you go. 100% thumbs up everywhere, Jack, for the... We get Crosby on that one because we know Connor has too much free time. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah,
he's too much free time. He's probably out there now as we speak. I actually told him. No, actually, I won't say that. We'll go on to something else. I want to finish up a little chat about Elliott. I touched on him earlier on. I really am undecided about what would be best for him next year, because there's a valid argument to bring him back in, but there's also a very valid argument to give him a move to a Southampton or to a Leeds or to somewhere and get him a full season in the Premier League, because he's still really, really young.
Yeah, he's good for under 23s football now, Craig. And, you know, he's proved that in the Championship this year. I don't know what Tony Mowbray's thinking at the moment. He's been benched in the last few games. I don't understand why. I don't believe Mowbray's come out and given a reason as to why. But yesterday he comes off the bench and provides an assist to salvage a point for Blackburn, who have been struggling recently. And, you know, I think for Harvey Elliott now, the next thing he'll be looking at is a loan to you know, a bottom half Premier League side. I'd love to see him in and around the Liverpool squad next season. But I think he deserves regular game time at the moment. He needs to improve physically. And I think the best option for him is to be playing regular football. And I think he's good enough to do that, you know, maybe a club coming up from the Championship. You know, maybe already a club, perhaps someone like Brighton. But certainly I'd prefer him getting regular game time rather than bits and pieces that he'd get at Liverpool, because I think he's still young and he's still got a lot to learn. And at this point in his career, he needs to be playing regular football at the highest level he can. And right now, I believe certainly top-end Premier League, top-end Championship, low-end Premier League. On a regular basis, and I think one loan to a Premier League side. Let's see how he gets on there, and then have him in and amongst the Liverpool squad. But of course, Craig, it all depends on whether we can sign a forward and whether, you know, how many of our squad options are sold in the summer. You know, if we end up selling Takumi Minamino, Origi, and Xherdan Shaqiri, it wouldn't surprise me if we do sign someone and keep Elliott around. So it is going to be interesting. I wouldn't be against having Harvey Elliott in and around the squad, because I think he's a top player, a really good youngster who's always hungry for game time and would be a good part of the squad and a good option. But I would like to see young Elliott given more football on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think whatever happens, we'll see him get pre-season. We'll see Klopp look at him. We'll see him go on, you know, whatever we play our pre-season friendlies. I'm sure he'll get involved in them. It'll be a last-minute deal. I just want to address something in the comment section, and I do read the comments, and normally we are more interactive with the comments. So Conrad in particular, mate, just to address your one there, it's very difficult when you've got a guest on to, you know, keep the conversation flowing with the guest and then to go into the comments. So I do apologize. Usually if it's Jack or myself just hosting on our own, it's much easier to be interactive, mate. But when you've got a guest on, it's very difficult. Loan to Leeds would be perfect. That's a good show. Yeah,
I've just put that on the screen because I thought it's a brilliant idea for him. And, you know, another one is Brentford. If they come up, I'd like to see him in there. I think he'll excel there. So there's options for Harvey Elliott where I'd like to see him. I saw the comment there saying that he's being rested at the moment because, you know, they want to rest. They want to give him a bit of a rest. He's obviously been so key for them this season. He's still so young, and you know, I get that too. But he's been one of the stars in the Championship this season, and for me, certainly a player that will be a candidate for young player of the season in the Championship.
That's it for us tonight, ladies and gents, and tomorrow will be our day off. But as always, I ask you, please help us on our journey to hit 100k. Hit that subscribe button. Let people know about the channel. Feel free to share links, clips. I'm not going to be chasing you for copyright and little clips and stuff like that. Let people know we exist. We are on TikTok. We are on Instagram. We are on YouTube. We are on Facebook. We're on Twitter. We're everywhere, basically. Just search Anfield Agenda. Massive thank you to Jack for coming on, having a chat with me. As always, nothing but love to you guys, and have a great weekend. And you want to finish up with Jack before we head off?
Just up the Reds, mate.
There you go. Just up the Reds. 6-0 wins all around. There you go. 6-0, Jack. Jack 6-0 Gale signing out. You're never getting that one away, mate. Never. Folks, it's been a blast as always.
So it's that and the handbags and the baseball hat.
There you go. You've already formed your own brand. There you go, mate. There you go. There's the merch line done anyway, sorted for the future. Who would have ever thought Anfield Agenda may be heading into the handbag market, but you just never know. Ladies and gents, it's been a pleasure. Lots of love to you and yours. On behalf of myself and Jack and all the team, thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button. Up the Reds.